Kipper, how you doing, man?
I'm a little nervous about wearing the baby blue, I got to be honest with you.
Why?
Kid growing up, watching Hockey Night in Canada, Brian McFarlane, all the big boys, Howie Meeker. See, I'm over 50. I remember all of that. Dave Hodge.
You know what, Kipper? You're not alone.
Yeah.
Earlier in the show, Sixero pointed out, it's in studio here. I showed the inside of the jacket, and someone said that there were a couple here for us. And we were like, we can't, but that's like the cup. We can't put those on. We haven't earned those. So I completely understand where you're going here. There is, when you put that on, you are big-time stuff.
It is really cool. And I got to be honest with you, just my transition from Sportsnet to Hockey Night in Canada, it is truly amazing. The recognition you get on Saturday nights. We know it's a bit of a different crowd, but old ladies at the supermarket, they all watch Saturday nights. They might not get there during the midweek, but they all have watched Hockey Night in Canada over the years. So
oh, yeah, and they watch Tim and Sid.
I'll do my best.
Trust us.
Our demographic right there.
Those ladies watch
Our
Tim and
demographic.
Yeah.
Racing home to watch you guys.
Nunnas watch us all the time.
Kipper, one last thing.
Yes.
One last thing on the jacket. One last thing on the jacket. Is it wrong for me to put on the jacket and flip the pen?
And what?
Flip the pen. Like you know who.
Sacrilege.
Can I do that?
No.
Yeah, you can.
I'm doing an homage. I'm honoring Dave Hodge when I do that.
I think it still worked out well for Dave Hodge.
I think
One of the best faces in Canadian broadcasting history. It worked out really well for Dave even after he flipped the pen. So you'll be safe.
We had a breaking news a deal in MLB baseball. It kind of cut short our hockey talk earlier. And we had done who was the most impressive over the weekend. We talked about the Habs closing out west, Carey Price looking as good as he did. We talked about the Leafs sweeping California and doing it with two of their best players not playing for them. We didn't get to the disappointing part. And I have to wonder, with all that's gone on in Edmonton, is Todd McLellan starting to feel that seat warm up a little bit, Kipper?
Oh, gosh. I was really surprised this morning when I woke up and there wasn't a major change there. And it almost seems like it's inevitable in terms of there needing to be some sort of change there. Everybody's pointing to Todd McLellan. You hate to see, coaches being fired, but it's almost a matter of time where you just say, okay, when is this going to happen? So he's on a West Coast trip, so you assume now that he's out in California. They got San Jose, LA, and Anaheim, if I'm not mistaken. Does he get all 3 games? Does he get 1 or 2? But clearly, something has to happen in Edmonton, I think, moving forward. It's just a really dark cloud over that organization right now, and until there's a major change, I think the weight of the world is going to continue to be on their shoulders.
Kipper, and I don't blame them, but going 7 with Anaheim in round 2 in 2017 made them feel like they were on the verge, like they had a good hockey team to surround Connor McDavid. Were they wrong?
I don't think they were wrong. I think, but you needed to grow from that. And I really do believe that once the focus came off of the team playoff run and on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl contracts, it's almost as if it started to derail in itself. And the Draisaitl contract really handcuffed them in terms of future growth with players to surround Connor McDavid with, and it just hasn't happened. I'm sorry, Ty Ratty, that's your number 1 winger to play with the best player on the planet, and I know he had a great training camp, but come on, you got to do better than that for Connor McDavid. He looks around and he sees Tavares with Marner, he sees Rantanen and McKinnon, he sees Bergeron with Pasternak, and he goes, look at my wingers.
Yeah.
And he still does amazing things out on the ice. So I can only imagine the level of frustration for Connor McDavid when he looks at his roster.
Yeah, no doubt.
Kipper, I saw a video of Joel Quenneville last night at the Bears tailgate, where he was just doing. Look, he's having a great time, doing shots with fans, catching football. Joel Quenneville that's just for those who know Joel. That's Joel.
I want my retirement to be.
I would love my retirement. Let me ask you this, though, and because I want to ask you this question out of respect for Todd McLellan, because you just went through some of the pieces here that Connor McDavid's working with. Does any head coach have issues with a roster this seemingly unbalanced in Edmonton? Like, if you brought Joel in, does he have more success? Same success? Like, how do we read that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. My understanding was Joel was not interested in what Babcock did, and that was sign a 6 or 7 year deal and then spend the first 3 of it dismantling or stripping down to rebuild. So I would believe that I wouldn't believe that Joel Quenneville would want to go in there and not that they'd have to strip down, but you'd have to unload certain contracts there. You'd have to make a decision on your goaltending, Cam Talbot. There would be some time to sit there for Joel Quenneville if he was able to work out a deal there, to sit there and go, okay, how long is this going to take before this team's contending? Because we do believe that it's not going to happen overnight. But that would be the biggest thing for Joel Quenneville. I believe that he'd still want to go in there and compete right away, if not, within a year. But the wait to rebuild, I don't think's in the equation for Joel Quenneville.
I've been surprised by what Montreal's been able to do. Thomas Tatar, Max Domi, and now that in the last 2 games we've seen Carey Price play like the old Carey Price, can we say he's back? And if he's back, is this a playoff team?
Well, it's a good start for sure, but he's been off for so long that you're going to have to see more out of Carey Price. But listen, that's what you expect out of a $10.5 million goaltender is win because of you in Calgary and then follow it up. And that's what he was able to do the other night. Give Niemi a lot of credit here, because when you got some solid backup, then it does push a guy like Carey Price. And tonight we got Toronto and Columbus, and Korpisalo did a pretty good job when Bobrovsky was struggling early, and he got some wins, and then it pushed goalie Bob, and now we're seeing him at a pretty good level too. So again, it's important to have that depth behind you to hold the fort, and those 2 respective players were able to do that for Montreal and Columbus.
Toronto Maple Leafs, you mentioned they're on Sportsnet Ontario tonight. Obviously, the Nylander situation. Matthews has been injured.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Sorry, we haven't mentioned Willie Nylander.
Something about Willie Nylander.
There's a situation?
Yeah, there's a slight situation. Sorry, but before we move on, I swear to God, do you have anything new on that? Because I'll move on quickly.
No, I do believe that the only way that we're going to be able to see a deal between Nylander and the Leafs is probably a 3-year contract, but it's got to have a 6 in it. I think if you go $18 million for 3 years, I think you can get Nylander signed. I just don't know whether the Leafs are prepared to do that. They want the 6 or 7 year deal at probably about $6.5 million. So they're not that far off when you think about $500,000 or $750,000. But you are when it comes to the term of the contract. That's where it really gets tricky.
The Leafs are going to take on Carolina later this week. There might be more people in the press box, scouts and executives, than maybe fans in the crowd that night. It's going to be incredible in terms of that. I'm looking at Marner, Kipper. I'm looking at Morgan Rielly. And I know there's already financial situations with Nylander. The Leafs are not close to being done with financial problems with some of these guys, because Rielly's stock is just rising. And Marner, if he leads the team again in scoring for another year, what's he going to be asking for?
Oh, gosh. Every time I talk about this, I get flooded with tweets saying, "You're depressing me. You're depressing me." And it's usually that type of talk about teams that have had success like Chicago and LA, but they've had multiple cups. Leafs haven't won. They've won 1 round. This is what gets me too, boys. They've won 1 round in 15 years. And it's like, doesn't he want to win a cup? Doesn't Nylander want to stay and win a cup? And it's like, have you seen their track record? Where's the guarantee there? But listen, there's no doubt that when you've got superstars on your team that are still in their entry-level contracts, it changes the dynamics of what you need to do moving forward. And it used to be an automatic for these guys. Sidney Crosby had a bridge contract. The Panarins of the world had a bridge contract, but Draisaitl went and signed an $8.5 million long-term deal, 8 years. And now everybody who's a star on their team, still in their entry deals, want the same thing. So that really changed everything for Kyle Dubas and the Leafs here. They're going to have to juggle some serious the balls in the air to make this work.
Regionally, we have the Leafs, we have Calgary tonight, and also, if you're in the Vancouver area, Jets and the Canucks this evening. Kipper, it's going to be a busy night. Have fun. We'll talk again soon.
Okay, boys, have a great night.
There's Nick Kypreos from the compound. Just saying Alberta, tweeting in, saying, I can't believe you said that, Sid Sixero. I was wondering what he was talking about. He provided visual evidence of what he was talking about, because it could have been, frankly, a couple of things that he was talking about.
Let me tell you something. In this moment, when CBC left overtime of a Habs playoff game for the national news, Dave Hodge changed Canadian television. Mm-hmm. No joke. Got fired for it, but he changed the way networks think about games live and coverage and what you see and what you don't see, and he paid a stiff price. But still one of my all-time favorites there, Dave Hodge.
Yeah, that's true.